The girl filled a piece of paper with numbers, and even when the teacher discovered her, she continued writing. The teacher pulled the paper away, causing the girl to panic. Subsequently, the girl disappeared. When the teacher found her, she was continuously muttering something, and there was a string of eerie numbers on the door. 50 years had passed since this incident, and the paper filled with numbers was placed in a time capsule. When the time capsule was opened 50 years later, its contents were distributed among the children. A boy received the paper covered in numbers and brought it home. The boy's father, Jack, saw the paper but didn't think much of it and left it on the table. However, when a glass pressed on the paper, it circled a few strings of numbers. As a professor, Jack instinctively began researching and discovered that the numbers represented dates. He arranged the other numbers and searched online, only to find that they corresponded to the dates of every disaster that had occurred, along with the number of casualties. Shockingly, all these events had taken place within the past 50 years. Jack suddenly realized that the person who wrote these numbers could predict the future. As he continued his research, he discovered that the last 3 sets of numbers corresponded to future events. Startled, Jack dropped his glass, shattering it. He sought out a friend, but the friend didn't believe him because many numbers seemed meaningless. However, according to the predictions, 81 people would die the following day. Disregarding his friend's skepticism, Jack stayed glued to the news at home, waiting to see if a disaster would occur. However, he fell asleep without any news of a catastrophe, and he missed picking up his son. Jack hurriedly drove to get his son, but due to heavy rain, the roads were congested. As he looked up at the navigation system, he noticed that the numbers on the screen seemed to correspond to another set of numbers on the paper. Jack was terrified, realizing that the disaster was unfolding right beside him. He quickly got out of the car and approached a traffic officer to warn him. The officer had barely said a word before rushing away. Just as Jack stood there in a daze, an airplane flew overhead and crashed nearby.